I want to thank Audible for sponsoring today's video. More about them shortly. I want you to pretend for a moment that you've never been a DoorDash driver. When I say the words tip and gratuity, what comes to mind? According to dictionary.com, the definition of gratuity is a gift of money over and above payment for service, as to a waiter or bellhop. Or, if you prefer the Urban Dictionary definition, pause the video and give this a read. What is going on, everybody? My name is Zach. I hope you are doing well. If this is your first time to my channel and this video resonates with you, please do consider pressing the like and subscribe button. If this is not your first time to my channel, I would like to thank you for your continued support. Thank you for 4,000 subscribers. Before we get into this debate, we need a little background on the history of tipping. This is going to be pretty boring, so I'm going to keep it brief. Tipping began in England during the medieval times to reward servants for exceptional work. By the 17th century, tipping had made its way to commercial establishments such as coffee shops, pubs, and other establishments. Americans visiting Europe eventually brought tipping back to the United States in the 1850s. They wanted to seem aristocratic, bougie, and fancy as f***. Tips, also known as gratuity, are almost exclusively given to people in low-wage service jobs. Typically, these are jobs like a waiter, a bartender, or a valet. Now, there's some pretty big differences in all of those jobs, but there is one similarity. These are W-2 employees that get paid something per hour. That amount is at least $2.13 per hour, the federal minimum wage for tipped employees. Now, $2.13 is pretty freaking low pay, but it's common knowledge that people working these types of jobs do rely on tips to survive. But do our customers know how little we make? I have the answer to that. We'll come back to it shortly. So, what motivation does the customer have to tip us well? In the majority of cases, we have little to no interaction with our customers. They don't know anything about us, like how ridiculously good looking we are.
Dad, you're really ugly.
They don't know if we're going to eat their food, kidnap their cat, or run over their garden goblin. They're tipping ahead of time and hoping for the best. In a lot of instances, we don't have any contact with the customers afterwards. So, what is the motivation? Especially after spending an exorbitant amount in fees and markups. When you go to a restaurant, the server is earning their tip with friendly service, positive demeanor, and prompt service. Basically, what I'm trying to get at is, at a restaurant, the customer can see the service happening. But in our case, our customers can't see us waiting around at the restaurant for an order, flipping off bad drivers, and getting stuck in traffic. All for base pay plus, hopefully, a tip. So the majority of what we do, the customer doesn't even see. We're not refilling their drinks, we're not asking them how their food tastes, and we're not flirting with them. They just press a few buttons and food magically appears on their doorstep. We're not presented with the same opportunity to earn a tip. So, how much do customers assume we make? I found some random sketchy website that allowed me to post a poll publicly. I asked non-drivers how much they think we make before tips. The results were pretty curious. While it is a small sample size, it was a pretty mixed bag. Most people assumed that we were making between $4 and $6 per delivery, or $7 to $10 per delivery. There was only one correct guess of $2 to $3 per delivery. The majority of people who responded assumed that we make significantly more than we actually do. This could explain why there's frequently insultingly low or no tip offers. Is the word tip negatively impacting our income? In my opinion, we do not fit the general definition of what a tip is meant for. Historically, a tip is given after services have been performed. However, in our case, the tip is being asked for up front when the order is placed. I want to take a moment and explore some of the similarities and differences between wait staff at a restaurant and drivers. We both provide a service. We both give our time to the customer. It's hands off for the customer. Similar to going to a restaurant, they just tell somebody what they want and it shows up. But this is where the similarities end. Other than their commute to work, the server is not out of pocket to do their job duties. They don't have to cover any of their own costs. Drivers, on the other hand, are paying for our own gas, maintenance, and insurance. Servers are paid at least something per hour before tips. However, that $2.13 does not apply to us because we're not employees. I mean, sure, we get base pay, but that's frequently not worth the distance that they're asking us to drive. So that may mean a lot of downtime where we're sitting around waiting for orders. Downtime we're not being paid for. While we're not being paid for that time, we could still be doing something productive, like listening to an audiobook. Instead of hearing this and seeing that, you could be getting lost in an audiobook on Audible, the sponsor of today's video. Audible is offering my viewers a very generous 30-day free trial and up to 2 free audiobooks of your choosing. With your free trial, you'll have access to thousands of audiobooks, podcasts, and documentaries, including bestsellers. Audible works on just about any device, whether you're at home listening on your computer or you're in your car listening on your phone. With Audible, our downtime and commutes can be far more enjoyable. Your free 30-day trial is risk-free. You can cancel anytime, and you'd be helping support the channel. Click the link in the description to start your free trial today. And thank you again to Audible for sponsoring today's video. Let's get back to the video. When you finish a meal in a restaurant and the server brings you your check, it's commonly accepted that in the United States, that is the time to leave a tip. Unlike a server at a restaurant who is tipped after the service has been rendered, our customers are asked to tip up front when they're placing their order. Sure, a customer could tip in cash when we deliver the order, but if they didn't tip in the app, they most certainly are not going to tip in person either. So, we really can't provide any additional service without potentially annoying the customer. I'm personally very hands-off with my customers unless the order's late or there's a problem with the order that I need to communicate. This is just my personal preference, as I don't want a random person texting me constantly. When I order from a service like DoorDash or Uber Eats, it's because I'm busy doing something else, like working on the script for this video and didn't have time to cook. That means that I also don't want my phone going off every 5 minutes with updates from the driver. Again, this is just my personal approach, but it is working pretty well for me. So, how can we earn our tip? Or is the word tip being misused? Many of you, like a ton of you, have left comments suggesting that it be called a bid or a bid for service. Historically, a tip is for service already rendered, whereas a bid is for services not yet rendered. Keep in mind, our customers are asked to tip up front. So, should the word tip be changed, and would it make a difference in our income? Generally, when somebody bids a job, the person with the best price ends up with the work. I believe that this would set the precedent that the higher the bid, the prompter the service. I would love to see an A/B test with the word tip and the phrase bid for service. Of course, DoorDash would never change the wording, as it implies that the customer might not get prompt service, which is true, but we all know how transparent DoorDash is. But if they were transparent, a brief explanation in the app would be helpful. It could include a breakdown of fees and the actual amount being paid to the driver, as well as informing them that we pay all of our own expenses, such as gas, insurance, and maintenance. It would be a quick way to educate customers on how little we truly make and that we really do rely on their generosity. In the tip area on the checkout screen, there's a picture of totally not a model posing as a DoorDash driver. It's got some generic text like drivers keep 100% of their tips. A more honest version of that would be somebody sitting there scowling saying, I spun a fucking bearing doing deliveries and your $2 tip going 6 miles isn't gonna cut it. I recently did a video talking about how DoorDash needs to increase their base pay. When I was doing my research for the video, I did a deep dive into the fees and the price increases that the customers charged. For something that would cost $9.59 in person, would cost $20.20 on DoorDash. And that's before a tip. If you would like to see the full video, I'll link it down below. So, it's a pretty safe assumption that the customer's spending a lot of money, and the wording in the app really isn't doing us any favors. Keep in mind, when the customer sees the word tip, chances are they're thinking the traditional definition. So, what are your thoughts? Does the wording need to be changed in the DoorDash app? If not a tip or a bid for service, what should it be called? Let me know in the comment section below. Well, that's going to about wrap up the video. If you haven't done so yet, please do consider pressing the like and subscribe button. My name is Zach. Take care.